Afternoon guys, welcome to another episode of SCHINO'S Kitchen. Now I'm really excited about this one because I'm on the other side of the table, so I'm getting food cooked for me by our wonderful guest Andrew Royall, who's joined us from Eclectic Home Technology. So welcome. How you doing? You all right?
Doing very well, thank you. I'm glad that you've let me take over the kitchen.
It is a proper Andrew Royall takeover today, isn't it?
That you know, I'm sure we're not going to completely take over, but you know, 95% takeover, I think, is where that's the goal anyway. So.
I will definitely be doing some chopping for you, hopefully. I mean, I can drag out the chopping of an onion for quite a long time, bearing in mind the video we did last week with Ben. But what I am so impressed with, though, Andrew, and I presume this kind of reflects across your whole business ethos, is just the preparation level that you have gone to for this show.
Well, do you know what? I suppose this preparation level is standard for my cooking, but also for my business, and it looks much less impressive when it's at home and you're just pulling stuff out of drawers. When you bring it to someone else's kitchen and sort of spread it out, it adds a level of grandiose that's sort of,
it's awesome.
Not always there. But I think that the whole, that whether you're cooking or whether you're doing a project for somebody, you have to be prepared.
100%.
And that I sort of take that to maybe a step beyond.
Just to let you guys know, right? Okay, so normally I've got like a sort of rusty spatula with one salad tong, and I'm kind of sort of put together some pasta because we all know that's all I can cook. But Andrew's brought everything from the chopping boards to the global knives, which are just absolutely exceptional, and I'm really excited about this dish. So firstly though, let's learn a bit about you. So obviously you're Andrew Royall, but what comes with Andrew Royall?
Sure. So that I'm Andrew Royall. I run Eclectic Home Technology. We're a very small boutique AV company, been running for sort of 4 years now, but I've been in the industry for
because I know you was at other integrators in the past.
I've worked for other integrators. I've worked on the manufacturer side. I've worked on the integration side. I've worked for people. I've worked for myself. And you know what? Look, I've got to say, I enjoy it on my side of the fence more than I enjoyed it on your side of the fence.
Yeah.
That is one of those things that. That's one of those things that.
Do you want me to prep these now?
Yeah. If you could just.
How do you want them?
No, just all I want you to do.
Oh, it's a bit of a crush, yeah.
Is peel them.
Yeah.
And if you top and tail them, they peel easier than that, don't they? And then crush them. Straight into the bag. Straight into the bag. Okay,
yep. Awesome. Because when I first met you, you were working for an integrator at that point. That's how we first met. It was at a Kaleidoscope event, wasn't it, in London? We sat together at Pizza Express.
Indeed, and I was working for, at that time, another integrator, and I've worked for a few integrators. I've worked for integrators in the UK. I've worked for integrators in Australia, my business is still it wasn't meant to be, but my business is still international, and I use some of my Australian resources to do things out of time zone in the UK.
That's a great idea.
Which works really, really well for them, really, really well for me. You can work that out.
It's a funky garlic press.
So that was given to me by somebody from this world and this industry.
Yeah.
So So we do traditional integration stuff. We do hi-fi, and we do tellies, and we do a number of different sort of, I suppose, IT-based things that take us into a sort of a slightly different level to most. Do you want to have a smell of that?
Ooh. Now that is very spicy. So
you say spicy.
It's fragrance.
And yes, it's full of spice, but it's not hot.
No, it's like really fragrant.
So,
here, George, have a sniff of that. Nice, isn't it?
So we're just going to marinate our chicken with that.
Okay, cool.
And so in a minute, you're going to have to shake the bag.
Shake the bag.
And that will coat the chicken. Normally I'd do this the night before. And you could cook this on a barbecue. We're going to cook in a pan in a minute. But just sort of, marinate.
Give it a shake, yeah?
Give it a shake. So,
because you do some marine stuff as well, don't you?
I do marine stuff as well. So predominantly we do high-end residential. We also do, of course, the marine side of things. We do a little bit of corporate IT consultancy and sort of helping them really secure their corporate networks and secure their data. All of our clients are sort of fairly similar. 90% of our work is done under NDA, and that we...
because you're quite under the radar, aren't you? You don't have like... Well, you've got some social media, but...
Yeah, but we're reducing that because actually, you know, that's not what my clients want.
No.
They don't want... You can keep shaking that up and give that a bit of a massage. They want me to sort of, you know,
that discretion
not
about
exist almost. And that they, you know, so we get to see some very, very interesting things that we can't ever talk about.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, the business is all about, I suppose, going to the next level for our clients and giving them solutions that are intelligent, well thought out, fit for purpose, and that are secure, hyper secure.
Yes.
And that my clients all tell me, oh, we don't have any secrets. And you're like, well, what about this one that I know? And they're like, oh yeah. Well, yeah, that one, that is a secret. But you know, you're like, well, you know, if that's not interesting for somebody,
yeah,
you know, what is? And so, you know, that there's sort of there's a little bit of consultancy that goes with that, a lot of client management, and a lot of what is not necessarily deemed as reasonable as far as requests, not from an ethical point of view, but from a timing and a deliverable, a deliverable sort of factor.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that I got a phone call one bank holiday Sunday, and my customer says to me, we've just bought a yacht, can you be in Port X tomorrow? Oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And we flew out. We took a 200-kilometre taxi trip from the airport to the... Do you mind putting lemon into...
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That we're going to do the whole lemon on that. We took a 200-kilometre taxi, went to the shipyard, had a look at the boat, drove back, flew back, and that was on the sort of the bank holiday Monday. And by sort of Wednesday afternoon, we'd agreed a proposal, agreed a set of works, and planned to then go and meet the boat, not in the port that we originally saw it, but in another port, and deploy that sort of thing. So, you know, we...
But do you know what? Listening to what you're saying as well, it's like, we were talking about this last week with Ben, is that our industry, let's face it, right, it is glamorous. So there's an element of getting like kids in that kind of key stage 4 area of their life interested in an industry, learning a certain skill that can then be transferable and develop into different areas, that you could end up being called on a Sunday to go out to Monaco on a yacht because your skill is needed at that time. You know, that's the value add that you have as a company. So obviously I've been given a lemon squeezer, which is trusting me with this amazing looking gadget. What are we actually cooking? Because I've said it before at the start of the video, I'm good at pasta, but this is a Middle Eastern dish, isn't it, that we're cooking?
Sure, so we're cooking, this is classic assembly cooking. We're going to assemble sort of different elements and then tie them all together at the end.
A bit like making a cinema.
Imagine that.
Cheesy.
And so look, we're doing some shawarma chicken, we're doing some za'atar onions, and this is raw onion, not za'atar, we're doing sumac onions. Sumac onions. And the sumac is a sort of a lemony herb. The lemon will also cut a lot of that sort of raw onionness out of it. So we're not going to get raw onion. We're going to get a sort of a beautiful, fragrant,
that's awesome.
Fragrant onion. Normally you could do that sort of overnight as well, and that would...
Everything overnight's always better.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It gives it time. So we've just got chicken in the pan, and that will sort of quietly cook in the background. You could equally do that on the barbecue. That's, when you get a barbecue, I'm going to come back and we'll do something different again. If you wouldn't
David, add it to the marketing budget, please.
If you wouldn't mind giving that a stir.
Yeah, of course. So, because obviously you've worn many hats in different sectors, but am I right in saying that cooking is something as well that's been in your life then? Or?
Well, cooking has been in my life, and I certainly I'm not a chef. I'm not trained, but I have cooked in I've cooked in kitchens and been paid for that. Not for a very long time, and that that was another lifetime ago, really. But when I finished school, I need to pay my way through, the next stage of education, and that involved cooking. And so I was a short order breakfast chef for quite some time, and that meant getting up at sort of 5 o'clock in the morning, rolling in, cooking breakfast till about 9:30. Then I'd go to school. Then I'd go back and I'd wait tables.
Was this in Australia?
In Australia, yeah. And I did have a little bit of exposure in that time. I worked at the cafe, but the same owner owned like a brasserie and then owned a fine dining restaurant. And so the staff was sort of pulled through all of these, businesses as one needed. So if anyone was sick, you'd sort of have to go in and cover or whatever. And so I got exposure in the kitchens of both the brasserie and the fine dining, and I wasn't ever good enough to be invited back. I was good enough, that
I don't know, this looks pretty impressive. I would have invited you back.
that I wasn't ever invited back. But we're going to make some butter bean hummus.
Okay.
To go with that, with some black garlic.
I smelt that earlier, and that smells absolutely incredible.
So I made this because I wanted black garlic, and then I worked out how to cook it.
Is it like a roasting process? Or?
No, it's a fermenting process.
Ooh.
So this ferments. And actually, if you could peel those for me.
Yeah, of course.
But you are a messy chef, so you've got to clear down into...
I'm just like me nan. I talked about this in a couple of videos before.
That you... Basically, this is run at 70 degrees for 2 weeks. And the garlic goes black, it changes flavours, it changes textures, and you get
it's almost like gooey, like kind of...
Well, you can eat these like...
It's got the same sort of consistency as like a vanilla pod.
So there's another one for you to eat.
Am I going to eat it? My wife... when I get home later on, I'm going to be like, hi, babe.
But what you get is...
How are you?
It's like a jelly bean as far as sort of texture-wise, and it's not a strong garlic flavour. In fact, it goes lemony.
Yeah. It is citrusy.
So...
Lovely. And actually a little bit truffly.
So when you've peeled those, they can go in there.
I won't put the one that I've eaten in there. So, obviously the learning of cooking, is this just come from a passion of you just wanting to sort of try things out? Because it seems like that's the type of character you are as well, that if you can get your mind into something and try and work it out, you will.
Well, yeah, and that absolutely. And I enjoy sort of problem solving.
Yeah.
And whether that's problem solving in the kitchen and I didn't know how to make this. I looked it up, I worked out how to do it, I did it. Or whether that's sort of eating something out.
If I cut that.
And then coming up with a plan that says, how did they do that? And actually I'm pretty good at sort of unpicking that sort of stuff.
Was that what kind of led you to this industry, or did you, like me, just sort of wake up one day and meet someone called Mike and fall into it?
So one day I woke up and met Mike, and Capes was with him as well. And that happened. That happens to all of us, I think.
Yeah.
But it, I sort of, being male, when I arrived in the UK, I went to a recruitment agent and said, I'm 21, can I have a job? The recruitment agent went, well, you're a guy, you must be able to sell televisions, you should go and work for Sony. And I went, okay, that's...
I'll go work for Sony.
All right, so, and then I went back to that same recruitment agent and said, I've been working for Sony now for 2 years and I'm a bit bored. He went, can you sell their expensive televisions? I said, well, yeah. He went, oh, well, you should go and work for Bang & Olufsen. And so I went to work for Bang & Olufsen. And then I went, a couple of years there, I went, I'm a bit bored here now. And the recruitment agency went, well, can you sell expensive things to rich people? I went, well, yeah. And they went, well, you should go and work for this integrator. So I went and worked for the integrator. So that was sort of my journey into this world. However, I was also that kid at school, and this worked really nicely because school and I weren't bad.
Yeah.
And I was never the sort of the bad kid, but school and I weren't necessarily
Best
compatible.
friends. Yeah.
And so I looked for opportunities for me to enjoy myself at school in different ways. And I used to get asked,
Intrigued?
well, no, as in like the classwork wasn't what I was there for.
Okay.
That I had friends, and there were other things going on that that interested me. And so I was the kid when I was in grade 3. So this is 1989.
That was when I was born. Sorry to make you feel old.
Well, I'm emotionally robust about that. And that turning 40 wasn't a real issue at all. But 1989, I was 10, and I was the kid that all of the teachers used to call to come in and fix the computers in their classroom.
Oh.
And it was only because I understood in headline terms that square plug goes in that square hole, and no one else had that sort
logical thought.
Yeah, that no one else had that logical thought. And what it did, it got me out of class all the time. But I never really did anything with that sort of, that side of things. And my friends and I had Commodore Amigas, and this is sort of back in the, early 90s, late 80s. And, I'm seeing nodding in the background.
I was going to say, David's nodded.
And that we worked out, actually, that if you understood a little bit of basic programming knowledge, you could hack games so that you could get rid of the password protection. But also we used to create little scripts that ran at the start of the games, and these had to be really small because you were dealing with like a 3.5-inch floppy.
Yeah.
But you could say that you'd cracked the game and slander your friends in this thing that they had to watch before they could actually play the game. And so we used to sort of, muck about with that. And then, I suppose life got in the way of computers and all that sort of thing. And I, fast forward several years and some cooking and I moved over here.
My only interaction with helping out a teacher at school with his computer, actually he was from Australia himself. He was Mr. Hill, he was. And Mr. Hill, if you're watching this, I love you with all my heart. You were probably the best teacher I ever had. But I hope you remember when I left school and you found a fish in the side of your computer, because I thought it would be hilarious to undo the side of his PC and put a nice haddock that I bought from Sainsbury's in the computer and then left. And I wondered how long that would be before it was found. So I don't know if it was ever found, but there you go.
Well, I've never haddocked someone's computer.
Haddocked, yeah. I didn't hack anyone, I haddocked them.
You haddocked them. So, butter bean hummus.
Okay.
This is simply butter beans, drain off half the water that's in there, olive oil, cumin, black garlic. Actually, we do need a bit of salt and whiz. So now's the bit where no one will hear what we're talking about.
I'm sorry, but this is making me, there's no excuse to be going to Tesco's to buy hummus. Do you know what I mean? Like that takes 5 seconds, and it's probably a lot nicer. Well, I'm saying probably. I don't know yet.
Actually, do you know what we should do? You can do more lemon in that.
Yeah?
Because actually, that's never going to hurt.
A bit of citrus never hurt anyone, did it? So no, I kind of, like from my side in this industry, I've started from, well, I didn't start from the bottom at all. I basically did admin work for Mike and fell into this sort of position of working in the sales side of things. But what we found with this kind of creative media is it's just such an interesting way of getting a concept across to clients, to you as our customers and everything like that. So for me, it's a dream come true. Like when I was a little boy and my dad was always interested in the best tech or this kind of stuff, so he'd have a new surround sound system in the living room and I'd be like, boys, come and have a look at this. This is the nuts. Everyone drops their bike in the street and goes and has a listen to this sound system. And it's just quite funny to think that as a young man I was demonstrating a surround sound system to my mates in my dad's living room, and now that's kind of what I do on a daily basis.
You turn that into a job.
Exactly.
Well, look, nobody believes that I have a real job, and in fact, I don't have a real job. I get to go and play with toys in amazing houses every day, and that my mum's got no idea what I do. Like, she can't comprehend that somebody that is a job, and my sister was at a party that my mum was at, and somebody asked her, what does your son do? And she was overheard saying something for, and then insert this particular rock star's name, and that was it. That was my job. Something for. And that was, okay, fine, I'll take that. That's, one, it's true, but two,
there's a lot more to something.
Yeah, just had no real sort of comprehension of that.
Yeah.
So we're going to whiz up now.
All right, I'll shut up now.
Shut up, and we'll be back in 30 seconds.
Well, that looks good.
That's it. Tell me what it needs.
Something to dip in it. That's awesome. That is really tasty.
So, you can flip that. So I use butter beans, but you could do cannoli beans, borlotti. Obviously, chickpeas are the traditional thing.
Yeah, it's got that kind of creaminess to it, hasn't it? Lovely. Well, you want to put that in the bowl? Oh, mate, this is awesome. So, when you were talking to me earlier about sort of your experiences at school as well, and one of the things that you mentioned that I want to touch on again is something to do with, it's sort of not necessarily touches on mental health, but I suppose it has mental health implications to it in the world that you're in. But you shared some information with me that was rather interesting that I've never known, which is actually probably something that a lot of people have that you don't realise and don't find out until later on in their lives.
Yes, and so I'm dyslexic. I'm not crazy dyslexic, and you might want to pour that like a cocktail as opposed to scoop it out with a. Not that I'm going to micromanage this process, but that I'm that's something that was never really picked up at school. It meant that school wasn't always fun. I had engagement issues at school, and I didn't really sort of, I didn't enjoy the process. Yeah. But I was also the grey man at school, in that I was able to, I kept my head down and wasn't the noisy one, wasn't the quiet one, was just the one that, slid through the process.
Yeah.
And the dyslexic thing for me is actually, I've got, I think it's a massive advantage in that I can visualise the systems that I put together and the incredibly complex details of those. I can visualise that as an end-to-end thing. I can then break it into component parts and into deliverable sections, and then recompile that and go and deploy that. And that if I didn't have the sort of the thought process, and if I didn't have the way of thinking, I don't think I'd be doing what I do.
No, and I think I used to work in schools, so I used to be a work-related learning officer for children that had come out of sort of secure units, really hard upbringings, parents in prison, that kind of thing, and it was almost like the education system had kind of left them behind because they weren't compatible with the industrial revolution idea of go to school, get a piece of paper, get a job, and that's your life. But they learnt in different ways. They had different things that made them tick, and it was a really interesting process to be able to. As well. Oh, jeez, it's like fragrance central. But it just gave me an insight into how to approach different people in different ways, and what I suppose is not a stigma. That's the wrong word. It's kind of like you say I'm dyslexic, people automatically resort to the stereotypical idea of a person that just simply cannot do this, that, the other, or cannot read, or I have OCD, therefore. But in actual fact, it's things like that that separate you from the norm in terms of the usual sheep travel of life. And you probably look at some of the most incredible business owners and they're very obsessive compulsive characters, or they've got, isn't Richard Branson dyslexic, I believe? And Anthony Hopkins, I mean, people like that, like, you think you wouldn't put those people together in that category, but it's a really interesting subject.
And look, and I've got both of my children, I've got twins. Both of my children, to varying degrees, one more than the other, suffers from that, and that their school doesn't do a real lot to help them. And I know that both of them will be all right in the long run because I've done it, I've seen it, and it all works out in the end. However, in the moment, it's really not fun for them, and that actually, as I said, I think it's a massive advantage, and that I know that I know that my business runs better because of my thought process.
Exactly.
And that I've been able to dial into how that works, how that benefits me, and what that really sort of looks and feels like, and that there's a guy that I work with, and he's 50 now, and he got diagnosed with dyslexia 10 years ago at age 40, and he spent 40 years of his life not understanding why he couldn't do certain things, and then overnight was like, oh, okay, cool, I get it now.
Yeah, and it's an acceptance thing. It's almost. And
that he's like, okay, fine, now I understand the rules that I have to play with. So I think that there's, as I said, it's a massive advantage, but I also think that you need to understand that, and that helping people that may be dyslexic understand that they are, there should be no stigma to that. In fact, any stigma to that is absolutely ridiculous. And that my dyslexia, I have days when I'm tired and I can misspell the word the, typing it in. I struggle with things like putting June and July in the right order, and I'm very visual at thinking, and both of those words visually look similar, and so I can't draw on them in the same way as December and January. They look entirely different.
Exactly.
And so that there's some things that, do you know what? Not understanding which order those two dates go together hasn't really adversely affected me, and that I'm sure it raises some eyebrows and people think, how the hell does that really work? But you know what?
Unless you understand it, and that's the thing we're mentioning, talking about mental health last week with Ben, right, touching on some of the stuff that I've suffered with in my lifetime, which I could look back at it and think it's all negative. I sat in corners of rooms crying and wishing the world would end and all of these kind of things. But in actual fact, the process of me coming out of that and accepting it and learning it, one of the key things that it's brought me in life is empathy. And I think from an empathetic perspective, especially working in the sales environment with high-end clients that have a certain degree of what they want in their mind, I'm empathetic to that, and I'm able to almost put myself into their shoes of, okay, if I was in their position and I had these people wanting to put something into my property or wanting to work on my project, how would I want them to make me feel? What language would I want them to use with me? And it's just taking, and also people learn in different ways. So I am a audible person. I like to listen to stuff and I pick it up and I learn it. Some people are visual, and if you can pick up on that just by using certain language, you're able to then present that to that person in a certain way. How does that look, sir? How does that sound, madam? It's that kind of balance, and you can very easily take what's seen as something as stereotypical negative and accept it and adapt it into a way that really benefits you and helps you in your life, and I am who I am because of what I've been through, and the same with you, It shapes you as a person.
And I wouldn't swap mine for anything.
No.
And that, so
what are you doing now then? You're carrying on with
so we're just doing like a rough chopped salad. And the za'atar that we made earlier will go on the salad. This is sort of, just chopping what we have.
There's no choppy choppy.
What do you want to do? Do you want to do tomatoes?
Yeah, I'll do some tomatoes. Are you okay with the fact that do you want to do a little wash? When did we get these, by the way, guys?
Sorry, that's your one.
Is it? I was going to say, I've never seen this before.
I found it under the counter because I thought this morning you weren't going to do...
under that counter. We might do a video shoot one day under there and show you what's actually behind the scenes. Thank you. How do you want them chopped?
Halved?
Yeah?
But halve them in whichever direction you wish to halve them in.
I'll halve them in that direction then. So, tomatoes, there's quite a lot of science that goes into tomatoes. Certain tomatoes are used for certain things with different sweetnesses, different bitternesses, and I was mentioning about when I made the pasta sauce with Joe, that was quite a nerve-wracking experience having I mean, I'm only half, I'm not full fat, I'm half semi-skimmed Italian, I'm half Italian, but having a full fat Italian here with his mum who's still living with him now in the UK, who cooks a pasta every day for a starter, I was quite nervous about making that tomato pasta, and hopefully it pulled off. But we were using San Manzanos in that because they have a very small seed sac.
Very small seed sac and very thin skinned.
Exactly.
And if you, I believe they're the only tomato that you can use to get a Napolese pizza.
Yeah.
And so that you have to have, there's a specific mozzarella, there's a specific tomato in order to to conform to that.
Exactly. And do you know what? Pulling it back to sort of, I suppose, an AV perspective, it's like there's a certain product for a certain thing. And that's the thing about what I get confused in our industry of saying my speaker's better than your speaker or my amp's better than your amp. Well, on a spec sheet, there may be a reason why it does something different, but in actual fact, there's a product placement for every scenario, and choosing the right product for that scenario is so important. Like you wouldn't put a 800 lumen projector into a open air kind of the typical bifold door conservatory / kitchen sitting area because you'd just be looking at a white screen all the time. It's about choosing the right component to go into the dish.
Well, it's interesting, and that that our industry is rife with car analogies.
Every day I say something to do with that.
But that when you get into your Rolls Royce, as our customers do, if that Rolls Royce had, pleather seats, or it had an old cassette radio in the front, or those things just completely jar with the experience. So I think lots of the AV choices that we need to make are making sure that what we do is fit for the places that we're deploying them and what we're doing. Yeah.
And also, you mentioned the word Rolls Royce, and actually it's a good opportunity because I use this analogy sometimes with people that don't necessarily. So, like Kaleidoscope as a product, for example, there's movie servers, there's Apple TVs, there's Amazon Fires, all these kind of things that you can use, but some of it comes down to a status thing. It's like, I've got a Rolls Royce. You could have gone and bought a really nice S-Class Mercedes and it would be bloody beautiful and awesome, but you bought a Rolls Royce for a reason. And it, like with a brand like Kaleidoscope, it's like that. It is a status thing. The best yachts have a Kaleidoscope. The best home cinemas have a Kaleidoscope. It's that kind of element to it that I know obviously you don't want to be elitist in an industry, but there are certain products that just sit in that market because that's where they are,
And look, and that certain things just become par for the course. And I think you're right that Kaleidoscope is one of those, one of those products that, and that actually, that cost on those sorts of things. We're in a disproportionate world already.
Exactly, yeah.
And there's a guy called John Bannenberg who is was a yacht designer, very, very famous yacht designer, and made some amazing yachts that were always at the sort of the cutting edge of technology. And his thing was that this yacht is going to be one of the most expensive things that person ever buys. And it's not a rational purchase. It is a completely, it's just luxury. It's pure luxury. It's pure living in the sort of the moment. And so that you need to make sure when you're spending money like that, that you are always delighted by the luxury, the experience.
Every element of it.
Every element has to gel and every element has to sort of feel right. and that if any of those elements jar, you've wasted however tens of millions of pounds you've spent on that yacht. And so he really sort of understood that actually, if you're buying something that isn't anything that you need, it needs to be exceptional, and it needs to be beautiful, and it needs to function perfectly.
Exactly.
And I think that that's lots of what we do, because actually nobody needs more than one television, and arguably you didn't even need the first one. We work in a world of luxury. No one needs a cinema. Are they fantastic spaces? Absolutely.
Of course,
Does it, lots and lots of people want a cinema? Yeah. Do you need one?
No.
Not so much.
When we're in this kind of demonstration facility, I mean, we have people coming through this all the time, doing demonstrations with dealers, and for us, we are, instead of thinking what would be nice and what would kind of be right, it's actually focusing on the things that can't be wrong. Because in this world, when you walk into a pristine environment like this with beautiful sub-zero fridges and all of this incredible technology surrounding you and artwork, the things that you actually notice are the things that aren't right. So even down to the detail of our fire extinguishers are chrome, we haven't got ugly red fire extinguishers glaring you in the space as you walk into the room. So it's all about that detail throughout every element of your process. And
you've got to see that
through. Talking about detail, guys, can you get a close-up on this? So this is a level of detail that Andrew has gone to. This is, hopefully some of your clients will see this and understand. Just to produce this incredible food we're doing now is what chicken, what element, how it's done, what element of kit he needs to do it. I'll tell you what, I'm glad my wife's not here, because she'd be divorcing me and taking you home.
My wife might have something to say about that. I think that's the other thing that is super important. So that my wife is actually part of the business, and having my wife co-opted into the business is a wonderful thing, because it means that we're on the same page. We're on we understand what the business needs, but also if I get that phone call on Sunday and I need to be abroad on Monday, she understands it enables.
Exactly.
And that having an enabling other half, that if you're a business owner, is actually really, really important.
100%.
And it's probably the most important thing, because otherwise it all just
it's just friction all the time otherwise.
Yeah.
And my wife is very, very similar in that she supports me 100%. She knows if that phone rings or whatever, I need to sort something out, then there's never any issue with it, because she understands that it's a necessity, and it works both ways. I support her massively. She's a paediatric nurse. I mean, we're actually having a baby tomorrow. That's one of the main reasons why I'm sitting here, is because I'm a little bit scatty at the moment. I've got a second child arriving tomorrow for a C-section, and I'm just grateful that someone's feeding me, because I've been a bit busy and forgotten to eat recently. So, but when she was training to be a nurse, I wanted to enable her to be able to do that. When it was 11 o'clock at night and she needed to go to a library for the university to get a book, I was there to drive her. It's about inspiring, motivating, not just our clients and things, but we need to bring that into our family lives, it's important. And things like cooking, this is something that's really important for me with my daughter. We try and get dinner cooked at a certain time, because I know she needs to go to bed, but I would rather do that, we all sit down and enjoy a meal together, than me just slap some fish fingers in the oven for her, give it to her for 20 minutes before we eat. It's all about kind of having that interaction. I'll tell you what, this has been very beautiful.
So, do you know what, I think the other thing is that feeding your children what you eat is really, really important, because one, there's not enough time to cook 2 meals, and 2, that actually you get better food than you would do if you had to cook 2 meals. And we certainly, this is my boys love this, all of this,
and that's really nice, because you do see we've had some family friends before, bless him, where the son, we were in a restaurant once and he kicked off. He was like, I'm not eating this. Why? The chips are the wrong shape. I mean, come on, it's all about enabling people, but enabling your children to try things, experience different things, because you never know, you'll end up loving something. Like Betty at 2 years old couldn't get her off of olives. She loves olives.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was little and I ate an olive, it was a bit like, oh, but she loves it.
One of my kids is all over olives, and the other one isn't.
Yeah.
And so but yeah, I think you're right, and that actually kids and food is fun anyway.
Yeah.
So
I like getting them involved in the cooking as well. It's actually a fun process. So, are we going to start putting this together now?
Should we start putting this
really
together?
Excited. So what do you do? Griddle the chicken after so you've cooked it off?
No, the chicken's cooked.
And you're going to do the pitters on the...
Yeah.
Love it.
So,
This must be quite similar to the kind of, like, in terms of, obviously it's a Middle Eastern style food, but like the hummus and all this kind of stuff, it's quite, like the palate's sort of similar to that sort of Turkish style of, like with...
Turkey
like,
being in the Middle East.
Turkey being in the Middle East, but like what you would eat, George, like your mum and dad, like when they cook and everything like this, obviously very similar style food, yeah? So you're going to try this then? Because that was what I was actually sort of coming to there, is that...
What's this, like, I get that there may be like an inside joke here about what George does and doesn't eat.
George doesn't
but
eat.
no one's explicitly said what George...
No, George loves a Dorrington's sausage roll. I'm not going to lie. He's got an app on his phone that tells him when Dorrington's is in the area, and he's straight out there, bang, to get his... But he doesn't like sauces and things like that. So, he carries that gimbal like a pro. I mean, that thing is heavy. And he went for a period. I'm talking about him like he's not here, but he went for a period of his life of being a gym fanatic, like, and he beasted up. I'm not gonna lie. When you first joined, you were my size, and now you're a bit more built. But when we went to the Cedia Awards, it was his first couple of days, I think, at Pulse, and we were sitting at the Cedia Awards, we're all in our tuxes and everything. The food's come out, and it's some crab thing, and he's just gone to me. He's like, "What's that, sire?" And I'm like, "It's crab." He's like, "Don't eat crab." I'm like, "You ever tried crab?" No. So George, start trying some crab. Don't. But yeah, no, I reckon you're going to like this because it's right up your ethnic boulevard.
It doesn't have the most diverse palate.
We're going to change that though, George, aren't we? He's nodding.
He's nodding sideways. So we're just going to get a bit of colour on those, and then it's literally just plating.
So what do you
up.
do? Is that like do you sort of...
So no, this isn't like a pitta. It's just like a flatbread.
Okay.
So it just gets toasted and sort of forms part of the part of the fabric of of today's food. You can of course chop this all up, roll it all up, and make yourself a kebab. Or wrap. Yeah, wrap's probably more eloquent.
Yes.
So it's just sort of super simple.
And I mean, obviously we've been talking, so this is probably half an hour, 45 minutes or something, but from a perspective of time is, Ben was touching on it last week, it's so important. Time is everything, and to be able to produce this, if you were focused, 10-15 minutes realistically,
you can bang it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
The real thing with this is that actually it does benefit from the onions, and the chicken really benefit from
the prep time.
Yeah. But equally, that's sort of 10 minutes the night before. Take it out on the day, and away you go. And so, this lasts the hummus. We've never actually tested it, but I think it probably lasts about 2 days after having made it. My kids eat it. They haven't gone before. In that setting. So, it's sort of it's all fairly easy and fairly simple.
And one thing that I'm extremely excited about, Andrew, is introducing what we actually need to start competing with. I think he's brought something with him, which I must admit, I didn't know whether it was a weapon or what. But
well, I've got good news on that. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in due course.
It's currently like looking at me like, whoa.
No. That you've mentioned it before. That it has been heard, and that we'll be leaving that with you as the SCHINO'S kitchen pepper mill.
You're kidding?
It's yours.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible.
You have to do though the peppering, and that we saw capes here earlier, and capes with this pepper grinder would look a bit like Ronnie Corbett in that big chair back in the day. So
Oh my God, that
it's
is
yours.
amazing. Thank you.
It's Italian as well.
Well, that is just incredible. Made in Italy. Look at that. Do you want pepper?
So
Thank you, Andrew. That's awesome.
it's a pleasure.
Amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Ah.
So
I want to take this home with me, actually.
if it's not on the show next time, I'll know what you've done.
Should we call it Andrew? Let's call it Andrew. Get me Andrew, George. Look at this. This is looking special. So are you the cook in your house, or do you share
No,
it?
we share it, and that we share it, and that my wife's a fantastic cook as well. That she does amazing food
spent
for us as well.
some time with your wife when she came and did the RTI training here.
Indeed, yes.
And it was brilliant because it was like you got all these sort of AV guys getting, and Carmen's just straight in there, bang, laptop, let's go, I need to learn something. Like it was epic. Because you did the training and it was like literally like a couple of weeks later.
It was the
she
next
came down
next
yeah.
available session that she came to
Yeah.
join, and she really enjoyed that, and that actually that neither of us do a real lot of programming. However, understanding and being able to just troubleshoot code is a phenomenal. It's really phenomenally useful, and that Cyril. And is he talking to you again yet or not? Or?
I spoke to Cyril the other day while Ben and I were making some prank calls, and Cyril, if you're watching this video, that call that I made to you obviously was completely and utterly fabricated, but it's so rude that we can't air it. But if anyone is interested and they really want to see it, comment on the video, like the video, and we will put it out there, but there will be a massive parental advisory on there, and also I think we need to get in touch with
Legal
Mr.
Cyril.
RTI to make sure that he doesn't lose his job or his marriage. So, can I actually use the pepper?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Oh, amazing. So excited.
We're getting there. So,
Okay.
ooh,
I like that you've even got like the bowls and the big. Normally I just chuck everything in the sink and then have to tidy it up afterwards.
so
And then the hummus. Ooh. Look at that. That is awesome, isn't it?
So,
Look.
and then for peppering, it's all yours.
For peppering, now do you... Oh, look at this. Oh, I'm so excited. First time using Andrew. So
So there we have it.
that is amazing. I'm going to try it, is that okay?
Of course. George,
Yeah, that one.
that one's your one.
That one's George. There you go. Let's have another little look at that there.
That's round the wrong way, Simon. Not that I'm
sorry.
micromanaging.
Sorry. No, but do you know what? Detail is important. Detail is everything. I'm very excited about eating this. I'm going to try it now. Right. It's a shame that we filmed these in the morning because obviously that is pure vodka. But it would be nice to have
that's
a glass
got
of
gin
wine
in
and
it.
stuff. It'd be nice to have a glass of wine or something with it. But
Well, apparently we need to do a cocktail spin-off. And there's a bit of a Negroni off that could potentially happen.
Well, David does boast the fact that he makes the best Negroni outside of Italy. So that could be a very eventful video.
That we've already had David and I had a conversation earlier about Negronis, how one might want to go about making one, pitfalls of certain gins.
You shouldn't have gone to the Dorries van, mate. Sorry, Dorrington's is great. And also my sister's company that does sandwiches. Sorry, Zara, please don't hurt me. Wow. Get on this. Is that actually, come on, Andrew.
No.
And then we get some more knives and forks because you guys need to come and try this.
That
It's absolutely awesome. George, sorry, you got cameras in here. Do you want me to feed you? You sure? You sure? We should do a series actually, like what will George eat?
What will George eat? Find the limits.
No, this is absolutely spectacular.
Good.
Thank you so much for coming.
That's all right. Quick, easy.
No excuses.
No excuses, but it's just compilation. Yeah.
It is, and structure. George, your camera's making noises, mate.
That's not a happy noise either.
Yeah, that's I'm running out of battery noise. But no, Andrew, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Pleasure.
Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And that, maybe next time we talk less about cooking and more about,
Yeah, well, we've got a podcast series coming soon. I know you do a lot of podcasting,
Do a bit of that.
It'd be awesome to get you on there and do some bits. But guys, thank you so much for the support recently. We've seen our subscribers rocketing up, which is really, really cool, and the numbers of views going up on the videos as well. This is the platform to see whatever is going on at Pulse Cinemas, and I really appreciate the support. So make sure you're liking, subscribing, and getting the word out there that there's a kitchen to come and cook on. So thanks a lot, guys.